My name is Ms. Mason, and today I'm going to be walking you through and presenting one of my students' projects. So I created a literacy research project for my students. I'm pulling from Dewey's constructivist theory of having students participate in active learning in order to create their own understanding. And we're going to be talking about the Great Depression. So they're building their own understanding of the aspects of the Great Depression and what happened. This has been, they've been researching for a few days now. The first day they participated in a web quest that I created on the Great Depression, and they watched an interview with somebody who was alive then, and after the interview I asked them to pick out aspects of the Great Depression that they found interesting. And once they did that, they then researched those aspects, and yesterday they took that research and turned it into a broadcast. And this morning when they come into class, they are going to have their peers review their broadcast, and then they're going to make a revision based off of their peer review. That way they will be able to present in class. So, with that being said, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Kylie, and she is going to do her broadcast for you all. Thank you for tuning in to YHC News. Today we will be discussing the harsh underpaid employment that women experienced during the Great Depression. At the beginning of the Great Depression, women's jobs were on a rise. It was looking up for women. And they rose by 24%. They went from 10.5 million up to 13 million. So that was pretty good. However, there was one thing that was not good, and that's when you looked at pay. Women were underpaid compared to men. And so the National Recovery Administration, their wage codes were set 25% lower for women than men during this time. And the government claimed that these reasons that women were underpaid was due to the fact that women's jobs were less volatile than men's during this time. Excuse me. Men's jobs at this time, they were basically coal mining and manufacturing positions. And when we had the 1988 stock market crash, those positions were impacted heavily by that. And so there was barely any positions. Plants were closing, manufacturers were closing, and men were losing their jobs. But for some reason, women were on a rise. But this was due to the fact that these positions that women had were labeled as women's work. And yes, I'm using quotations for that because it is nursing and teaching and clerical work. Anybody can do that in my opinion, but during this time period, it was for women. That's what they were described as. During this time, women were permitted to join unions. You know how men joined unions and were able to, fight for, or they were able to strike for better working conditions. Women couldn't do this at this time. They didn't have any kind of impact on policy. It was very limited. Basically, during this time, women had smaller wages and fewer benefits, and that was the norm. However, let's fast forward 89 years. Now we're in 2019, and women are still experiencing underpaid compared to men and within the same profession. And yes, I am talking about the United States women's national soccer team. And their compared to the men's national soccer team, the max salary in a typical year that a woman on the team can make is $99,000, which equals up to only $4,950 per game. And the team has to have played and won, mind you I said win, 20 exhibition matches. Now these same conditions relate to the men's national team. However, there is a big difference. The max salary for a typical year for the men's national team is $263,000, and that equals out to about $13,166 per game. I mean, that's a crazy big difference. And when you look at the women or National Women's Soccer League compared to the MLS, the minimum salary for the women's league is $16,538. The max is $46,200. That is only a $30,000 difference. However, there is a plus. If you play for the women's national team, you can expect at least $100,000 more dollars. Your maximum comes to $56,000.